Welcome to the Waterfowl East podcast. We're going to talk turkey today, and I've got Mr. Rob Keck here joining me from Pennsylvania today. Welcome, Rob.
Hey, Matthew. Thank you. And, man, it's a great day to be alive, a great day to be in the outdoors, and it's turkey season.
It sure is. It's about to be turkey season here, too, so it's always turkey season somewheres for you, I suppose, huh?
Well, it is. I mean, you can start in February down the Yucatan of Mexico, down in Campeche, hunting oscillated turkeys. And then in the States, well, the first Saturday of March, it opens in South Florida. It opens out in Hawaii, believe it or not, and just works its way north. And yesterday, it was May the 3rd. It opened here in Pennsylvania. And a number of the northern states, the snowbelt states, are just getting into it during the month of May. And, of course, it's going to happen, is happening right there in Quebec too, but in New Brunswick.
Yeah. So is that something that you normally do, Rob, in the springtime? Do you normally hit the road and travel around for the openers?
I do. And it doesn't have to be openers. Some of the best hunting actually happens at the end of the season. After all those hens go to sit on the nest, go to incubate, you'll find that those gobblers that were all henned up all spring, those long-spurred gobblers, become a lot easier to call in. So, I go from beginning to end, and, I was very fortunate to be the first to actually take a wild turkey in every state in the U.S., with the exception of Alaska, which has no turkeys. And, it's just been an amazing success story all across North America to see how the wild turkey was brought back literally from the brink of extinction, places where they were gone for over 100 years, back now with vibrant populations and creating great recreational opportunities for those that pursue and those that love to hunt the wild turkey.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So they call that the Super Slam, Rob?
Well, in the U.S., it is the U.S. Wild Turkey Super Slam. There's been there's 18 people now that have done that. And I know a number of others that are well on their way to completing all those, taking turkeys in all those states. And, it's just one of those amazing opportunities to hunt a turkey from sea level up to snow line and everywhere in between. Just the adaptability of the wild turkey, how they've adapted to so many habitats. And, of course, there's 5 different subspecies of wild turkeys. And, you can find them in virtually every type of regional habitat that there is. And, again, just makes it so enjoyable to be able to, again, be in the palmettos and the Spanish moss of the deep south to, in the Rockies and up, right at timberline.
Yeah, and I mean, you have a pretty rich history when you're talking about how they came back from the brink of extinction. Obviously, groups like the National Wild Turkey Federation have had a lot to do with turkey conservation, and I wanted you to tell me a little bit about your history with the NWTF.
Well, I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. Back in 1978, back in February, I started with the Federation. And that really came off of my notoriety, if I can use that word, having been a state champion wild turkey caller, a U.S. Open champion, a world champion turkey caller. I got to know a lot of people in the turkey world. And when this opening came about in Edgefield, South Carolina, the headquarters of the NWTF, I jumped at the opportunity. And at that time, there were only 30 states that had a turkey season, whether it was some were just in the fall, some in the spring, and was able to rally professionals through all the state fish and wildlife agencies. And we helped bring turkeys back through trap and transfer methods, trapping wild birds, moving them into unoccupied habitats. And the birds have just exploded. I know, one of the great examples was in the province of Ontario. We had an invitation to come up there, with the Minister of Natural Resources, and we brought representatives from 7 different states. And we had a symposium. We shared with them the ins and outs and requirements that the wild turkey had. And we brought turkeys into Ontario from 7 different states. And they just expanded well over into Quebec. They've expanded into places literally on the edge of the boreal forest. I mean, it's been an amazing success story. And one which has grown from a handful of turkey hunters to almost 4 million in the States. And I look at Canada as one of the frontiers, a new frontier. I see what's happening there in New Brunswick, having been there last year. And I just feel so fortunate to have been able to, not only lead the way in turkey restoration, but also in management. Once you have them there, how do you keep them there? How do you help them survive and thrive? And managing habitats through different plantings and, things on the south, controlled burning, things that will really enhance that habitat, which, by the way, most times is beneficial to many other wildlife species as well. And I was able to create a lot of chapters. In fact, when I took over, there were only 300 chapters. We had 2,400 when I finally retired out with Federation. When I started, we had just 10,000 members. When I retired, we had well over 500,000 members.
Holy.
And we were just able to rally the support of so many people, so many sponsoring organizations to make all of it happen. And it is just something that has gone down in conservation history as really, really an important element of restoring wildlife species themselves.
Oh, no question. I mean, one of the points that really struck me there that you said that I don't always think a lot of people take into account is the fact that when you're conserving land for turkeys, you're conserving land for everything. Everything has a benefit because of the work that you're actually doing for those turkeys. And I mean, to grow the organization the way you did and to bring on other corporate partners, start other chapters, it just goes to show that organizations like that only grow if people believe in the brand, so to speak, and what it stands for and what it's doing. So to grow it from what it was to what it is now is just absolutely amazing. Those numbers are unreal.
Yeah. Well, I had the privilege to talk conservation with 5 different U.S. presidents. And like with President George W. Bush, I was with him 13 different times. And when we met in the Roosevelt Room of the White House, I had the right-hand seat of the president with all the other conservation groups around the table. And we were able to tell him the priorities of not just turkey conservation, but wildlife conservation in general, how important it was to our country, and what we needed to do to help preserve these many species that have been brought back from the brink of extinction. And, it was a very, very special time to be able to speak to leaders at that level. I was invited by President Vicente Fox when he was president of Mexico. Was presented with their Turismo Award for sending U.S. hunters to Mexico to hunt the goulds and the ocellated turkeys.
That's awesome.
And we had the premier symposium in Ontario, was all about the future of hunting, and had the opportunity to speak there as well. So I've had the chance internationally to share that, and that's another reason I'm just so happy to be here on your podcast, to be able to speak to the people of New Brunswick and beyond, wherever the listeners and happen to be in this podcast. We've got a great story to tell. And one of the challenges that I found when I was at the Federation was that we don't speak well enough to the general public. We've got to do a better job. And that's why I grew our organization's communication center to be as big as our biological center, to unlock the best kept secrets that we as hunters have created in conservation. And we just have to do a much better job in the future as we become a smaller part, a smaller percentage of our country's populations. Because if we don't, you look at today's politics,
Definitely.
the politics of wildlife management are trumping the good science of wildlife management. So we've got to do a better job in sharing this great story on what we're doing for the environment, for conservation, and for so many people, whether they hunt or not.
Yeah, I totally agree. So when you say that, Rob, we need to be better communicators. Do you have any thoughts as to what that entails? Do you think it's podcasts like this, just getting the information out there?
Absolutely. I think we got to become more mainstream, though. We got to talk beyond just the listeners.
Yep.
That are hunters and anglers. That's the problem. We've got to make it a big deal to do this. All to the many others out there that don't listen or don't understand what hunting means to conservation. That hunting is conservation. There are so many ways in which we can do that, and I think one of the first things when you look at social media, let's make sure we're posting pictures that are quality pictures that enhance what you're showing to the public, and cleaning them up, picking good sites in which to take those pictures. Don't do it with a beer can in your hand and a turkey in the other one. I mean, try to show it in a real positive light, and we can start cleaning up. Pictures worth 1,000 words, and I would start right there. That we take quality photographs, if we're going to post them, if we're going to share them with the public, that somebody will say, man, that is a beautiful picture. It just happens there's a turkey or a duck or a goose or whatever it happens to be in it. I've seen so many pictures of like white-tailed deer, and they got them in the back of a pickup truck, their tongues hanging out, there's blood all over the place. You got to clean it up. Make it so that it's something that you'd be proud of to show others.
Yeah, and so that, yes, those are parts of hunting, but we're used to that. And when we think about, what the general public can appreciate, you're exactly spot on. I mean, if you take the time to make sure all the feathers are proper on that bird, and you say, okay, this is a really nice backdrop and it's a good setting, whether it's a bird or a deer or whatever you have, and you just set it up properly, it just looks really nice. And with today's cameras, I mean, even on our phones, there's really no excuse not to really take the time and make sure that what we're putting out there into the world sheds a good light for the rest of us,
Sure. And I think that, let's look over white-tailed deer. I know here in the States, there are many programs like Hunters Feeding the Hungry, where hunters will donate meat to food kitchens and to churches and to other places where needy people need to have protein, and tell the positive aspects of this, high quality meat that is out there, to share it with others, and that we do help feed the hungry in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish that's one of the ways that we're kind of behind, certainly in our province, that I wish we did more of, because here in Canada, there is such a need now in a lot of our, I wouldn't even say major city centers. Food banks here are busier than they've ever been, and protein is definitely one of the things. Quality protein, or protein in general, is one of the things that they're always short on. And
sure,
I really wish that we had more of an opportunity for that. Moving forward, maybe that's something that we'll see pushed here a little more now that we are seeing that to be a little more prominent in the country as a whole. Just people using food banks more, the need for that high quality protein being more and more all the time, because
sure.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we're out there doing it. Those programs are really good for the community and society as a whole. So it would be really nice if we could do that here. And it sheds a really good light on hunters too, because let's be honest, it's not one of those things that's promoted properly all the time. Even in kids' cartoons nowadays, it's it's still sort of the big bad hunter, and that's just not.
We've got to change that. We've got to change that image. We got to put our white hat on, take a step forward, put everything that we can into the positive light, whether it's in photographs, whether it's in just personal interactions, whether it's through social media, which is probably one of the best ways now to touch large groups of people. And
definitely,
it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard at all. And but you've got to make it a priority, and that's something that the hunting community still has not done very well.
And I certainly see that on social media now. Sometimes they'll show like possibly a slow motion shot of we'll say now because it's turkey season, even with some of the archery gear, they'll show a slow motion shot of a bird getting shot. And you'll often see in the comments now, I see guys saying, is that shedding a good light on what we're looking to promote?
Exactly.
Like, is that a good promotion? Like, we know what happens, but is that a good promotion? What do we?
Outdoor television. I mean, there are some shows out there that absolutely should not be out there for public consumption.
No question.
Because of putting the emphasis on the wrong things, the way they show some of these kills, and it's just not the kind of image that we as hunters need to be projecting, whether it's to other hunters or the general public.
Yeah, because especially nowadays, we are more so under attack than we've ever been. And part of conservation almost is the conservation of ourselves as hunters and getting along and we all have the same thing in mind. We all have kids or family that we would like to see be able to do this for future generations, and we definitely should be more thoughtful. But social media is certainly a wonderful way nowadays to promote the right things, because that's where everybody is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, no, I think you're spot on there. I mean, that's amazing work that you did with the NWTF. Are you still with them in any way, shape, or form, Rob?
Well, I come back every year. I MC the Grand National Turkey Calling Championship Finals. I also MC the Hall of Fame, the Grand National Hall of Fame inductions. And then on Saturday night, the Grand Ole Opry, I always take back the Grand National Champion, introduce him to the crowd, and we do a little turkey calling on stage. But that's pretty much it. After 30 years of being at the NWTF, I've stepped back from many, many duties that I once held.
That's outstanding. Rob, I want to, now that you've brought that up, and being a contest caller myself, that's something that I want to slide into and touch on a bit, if you'd be willing to talk about the turkey,
Sure.
The turkey calling, because you obviously have a decorated past and you're still very involved. And contest calling seemed like COVID sort of knocked its socks off in a lot of different contest calling, and now it's starting to come back, and it's certainly something that we would like to see start here, because there are plenty of us that have a passion for contest calling. So do you want to talk about that? Tell me a little bit about your history and what you're doing with it now.
Well, I think like many, you had to start somewhere. And with me, I can remember when I was 7 years old, all I wanted for Christmas was a Louis Stevenson box call. I was just always intrigued with the sound. And of course, as years progressed, and I called my first turkey in myself when I was 13, that passion began to grow. And then in, my latter teenage years, I heard about contests, and finally had an uncle that took me to one, and I said, okay, I want to be one of those guys. I want to be the best I can be. And then in subsequent years, when I would go, I took a tape recorder and, had a cassette tape and listened. And I said, I think I'm ready. And I remember the first year that I went to the Pennsylvania State Championship, I actually took fourth place. And, for me, that was like a huge stepping stone. And then
for sure.
the following year, and the following year won the Pennsylvania State Championship over almost 70 callers that were there.
Wow. How old were you then, Rob?
I was, 70. I was 24.
Yes, sir. Holy. And that's something.
And so then, and then I just went to a lot of regional competitions, other state competitions, and placed or won in those. And then in 76, went on to win the World Championships down in Mobile, Alabama.
Nice.
And then that winter, starting in January of 77, the executive vice president of the NWTF said, look, we're going to have our first convention in Hershey, Pennsylvania. We want to have a national turkey calling championship, which you created. And so I created it, gave it its name, but it was sort of a conflict of interest for me to call in it. And I was sort of at the peak of my calling right at that time.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
So I put it together and did not call in it. And the guy that took second in the world won it. And I said, you're just lucky that I wasn't in this competition. I'd have waxed you again. And then that summer, the U.S. Open, I still kept my practicing and went on and won out of over 70 callers, won the U.S. Open. And then in September, that was in July, in September, I got a call from the president of the NWTF, and they made me a job offer, and I didn't accept it immediately, but then ended up agreeing to it and moved then in February 1 of 1978, and that ended my calling career. And I stepped out at the time. I was at the top of my game. I don't know how much further it would have gone, but I saw another opportunity, and that was to take care of something I really loved, and that was the wild turkey, to be able to expand the range that through trap and transfer, the conservation work. And so that's pretty much where my calling competition ended. But, I have fun going back to the Grand Nationals every year, the finals, and backstage, the top 12 that came out of the preliminaries, I get a chance to jam with those guys back there. And so I still keep my touch, and it's pretty much revolved into woods calling, which is a little bit different than calling on stage. But nonetheless, I still feel I can carry my own in amongst some of the best.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, that's a pretty darn decorated career, really.
Anyway, it's a lot of fun. That little turkey call has taken me to a lot of places.
Yeah.
A lot of places literally around the world, and met so many great people. I mean, whether it was Olympic champions, NASCAR champions, governors, presidents, I mean, just a wide range of people. But, some of the most important were some of the backwoods country people that I really relate to well, and have just kept friendships with so many of them. And again, I think that I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it hadn't been for that turkey call, because that's where it gave me the start. It opened the doors, and then you had to make it happen from there.
Yeah, I think a fair amount of people that have sort of made their way through the industry, whichever industry that is in the inside of the outdoor industry umbrella, could say that contest calling, if that was part of it, was a big part of what got them noticed, and then how they traveled around and how they met people. I know that was that way for my career. That's contest calling. When I won my first national, that's how I started getting offers for different pro staffs. Then you traveled around and started meeting people, went to the worlds, then you just continue to network with people, and look, all of a sudden you ended up
right.
Yeah, all of a sudden you ended up at the NWTF for 30 years. Yeah, no, so that's
it. Yeah.
That's great. So is Pennsylvania where you grew up, Rob?
It is. It's where I grew up. I was, here until, January of 78, then moved to South Carolina. But, the years I was teaching school before I went to NWTF, and I lived up in Perry County along the Tuscarora Mountain and mountains of Pennsylvania, and had a lot of great mentors up there, call makers that are legends that, showed me so much. I got to work with them. I got to really improve my turkey hunting skill. And it was just a pivotal time in my life that helped set the stage for where I ultimately went and where I've, built my career. And, we all need mentors. We need to be the kind of examples for others to learn and to carry the torch. And I was just so fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, at a time where the wild turkey was just really taking off in popularity.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on the mentorship. And I mean, you have to also be somebody that those people are interested in mentoring. So you're obviously a good listener and a good student, a good mentee, because, if you've had several good ones, that's saying something about you too. And I can also say the same, that even now still with training dogs or in my calling career, for sure, I got to sit with Mr. Butch Richenbach for,
Yeah,
a week at
one
a
of the
time.
best.
Yeah,
Right.
one of the best. I mean, train more world champions than anybody. And I mean, growing up where I grew up here, there wasn't any opportunity to learn from anybody. And, when I got down around that area and around those people, it just elevates you so much. If you'll just sit and listen and do what they ask you to do, it just,
Yep.
completely changes your whole outlook and your whole career in calling. So, and then it gives you that much more opportunity. But that mentorship and the people that take the time to put their time and give you their knowledge, that type of stuff is priceless. And obviously you've got a passion for that because, with the NWTF, and I'm sure you've mentored lots of youth and lots of other people in the sport over the years.
Well, I'll tell you where it really comes back. I hosted television, starting out in the old Nashville network and then on the Outdoor Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for 20 years. I was also 10 years on Sirius XM on Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World. And I've had a number of times, I'll never forget last year at the Alabama governor's turkey hunt, one-shot turkey hunt. There was a guy in his mid-30s came up to me and he started crying.
Wow.
And I thought, man, what? And he said, you can't believe how you've impacted my life. He said, my dad died when I was young. And he said, I watched you on television every Saturday. And he said, you taught me how to turkey hunt. And he said, I never thought I'd get a chance to meet you. And he said, what you shared was so important to me. And I'm thinking, wow, you touch people that you don't even know you're touching. And, it doesn't matter whether you're on television or on radio or on a podcast or just, at a seminar or what have you. And this has happened numerous times. Guys that were kids that watched my show, coming back, as adults and saying what a difference it made for them.
Oh, no question. I mean, if you've been in outdoor television, you said you were on TNN?
I was on the old Nashville network, TNN. At that time, it was just outdoor television was either ESPN2 or the Nashville network. And so it was back in the early days of outdoor television programming.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, people have literally, like that guy was saying, have literally grown up watching you.
Yeah.
That's
not to mention, the videos and tapes, that I created as well. I hear, somebody said, man, I learned how to call watching your tape. Or, I learned how to do this or that in the turkey woods by watching you on that video.
So you've had a few TV shows, have you, Rob?
I have. In fact, when I was at the Federation, we had Turkey Call. We had another one was a management show called Get in the Game, and then a third one called Turkey Country. Then after I left the Federation, I co-hosted 3 different television shows for Bass Pro Shops. And, it just had a chance to really, cover a wide range of outdoor pursuits on television as well.
Yeah. So from what I understand, when you ended your career with the NWTF or decided to move forward, you went to Bass Pro? Is that where you
Bass Pro? Yeah, I'm still my good friend Johnny Morris, the founder, giving me another title. I'm the conservation hunting ambassador for Bass Pro Shops as well.
Makes sense to me, though, that he would want you to have that job.
Oh, he's a great man. Great
Yeah.
conservation. He's done more for conservation as far as an individual than anybody I know.
Oh, no question. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a man that definitely believes in leaving a legacy of conservation, at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So, and you also had some podcasts as well. Do you still do a podcast, or?
Well, Bass Pro asked me to do 10 that are airing, right now that just came out, and they're all, of course, on turkey hunting. So I said, okay, I'll do 10, and it was a lot of fun. I got to interview, some of the legendary turkey hunters that I've come in contact with. Also, Dr. Mike Chamberlain, who is looked as one of the leading authorities, researchers on the wild turkey from the University of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And, got to cover just a sort of a wide spectrum of people from the turkey world.
It's one of the things about these podcasts. You get to meet people from far and wide, learn a little bit about them. You always learn something. So I wanted to talk to you too, a little bit about your time up here in Canada. I know you've probably traveled up here a fair amount. Obviously, you've been part of bringing turkeys into Ontario, which are, anytime I've been up there and I've turkey hunted in Ontario, it certainly seems like they're thriving up there. But now New Brunswick has a season, and I think we've been in for, this is maybe our 5th year, I believe.
Yep, I think that's correct. Second year that a non-resident could be there.
Yeah, we're about halfway through our third year plan. So, and you were able to come up here last year, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you thought about the area. I'm not sure if you had ever been here before, or what you thought of the area, what you thought of the turkey hunting here, and just the whole experience in general.
Yeah, well, I had been there before. In fact, I've been to just about every province in Canada and have hunted or fished in almost every one of them. And, certainly the landscape is absolutely beautiful. The people are wonderful. And what I experienced there was nothing short of exciting because, first of all, these turkeys haven't been hunted much. And I think it's like anything that's not been hunted much. They give you some opportunities that maybe you wouldn't get in places like Alabama, where they've been hunted for 75 years or more.
Generations.
And, it was fun to share some of my turkey hunting knowledge and turkey calling knowledge with those people that I interacted with up there. I mean, Terry Smith has done a great job, with the Canadian Wild Turkey Federation.
No question.
He's been to National Wild Turkey Federation conventions, and we've interacted for a number of years. And I just salute him for what he's done in trying to generate this interest and to perpetuate something that's been going on just south of the border for quite some time. I look back and I think about how the wild turkey has proven even the best wildlife managers, the best biologists in the world have proven them wrong, and it's been a good thing. The original range map showed the wild turkey only coming in the southeastern part of Maine. And it was said back in the early days, 70s and early 80s, that the turkey would never go very far in the state of Maine. Well, the turkey proved all of this wrong.
Yep.
Went right up to New Brunswick border and crossed. And, in talking to Terry last year, which, he outfits for bear hunters, he said, Rob, I've got bear hunters in the far northern reaches of the province that are taking pictures of turkeys while they're on a bear bait. And he said it's just amazing how they have adapted so well. And where I hunted, I think it was Unit 15, just across the Maine border, I saw tremendous habitat. I think the potential in New Brunswick is beyond anybody's expectations. I look at where things are in New Brunswick to where many parts of the U.S. were 20 years ago. And to me, that is exciting. It's exciting because there's an opportunity emerging that is going to catch fire as these birds continue to expand, as they continue to grow their populations, and giving hunters an opportunity to enjoy a hunt in the spring besides bear hunting. And I can't say enough about the way they're being managed, the way they're being viewed, and the respect that they're being given. And it's just an amazing story that's going to continue to grow in popularity and in success.
Yeah, no question. I mean, the fact that we had guys like Terry, number one, and you're right, Terry's done amazing work. Mike Holland, having Mike as our natural resource minister. I mean, so much had never changed in this province. It was like it was cemented in there. We'd get a natural resource minister and nothing would change. When Mike came in, he really, in a lot of ways, shook things up. And, the fact that we have a wild turkey hunt here now, I know for certainly him and Terry, that was a moment that they had waited for, and many other people for many, many, many years. And, you talk about the habitat in Zone 15, which is where I sit. My house is in Zone 15. The amount of turkeys and their measurable growth in the last few years, and I mean even 5 years, is just unbelievable. I mean, there's turkeys across the road from me this morning, and it wasn't that long ago that if you saw a turkey, it was a big deal. Like everybody was taking pictures of it, and now, we see turkeys way more than we would see deer here. And like I said to you in the fall, those fall flocks, like it's nothing for me to see 100, 150, some days 200 turkeys. They're coming here. They're thriving in the habitat, and for the foreseeable future, with, like you say, proper management, the way that it is, I can't, by and large, some major disease came in and wiped them out. I mean, they are absolutely thriving and doing well here. So I think that's kind of a great thing that you say, because I've been talking to some biologists, and, nature always throws a curveball, right? I mean, they say, turkeys could they'll never go north. They'll never make the winter up there. They'll never survive. And the turkey's like, hold my beer, watch this, so they're
absolutely,
they're up here and I mean, they're thriving.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a friend, I'm going to be going to Quebec, the 15th of this month. And, the pictures that have been sent to me during the winter, these wintertime flocks that you just mentioned, 100, 150, 200 birds in deep snow. I mean, it's just amazing how they've adapted to habitats, to climates. I mean, over in Sudbury, Ontario, 250 inches of snow annually, and they've got turkeys over there. I mean, it just defies what you would say is even anything logical, that they have adapted so well. I mean, they've moved up into the boreal forests. And, when I look at some of the other provinces, whether it's in British Columbia, whether it's in Alberta, Manitoba, I mean, the birds are continuing to do really, really well. And I think that, Canada is a new destination for turkey hunters, as turkey hunters across the country in the U.S. look for more opportunities. As these opportunities present themselves in the provinces, I think there's just some great, great chances that everybody will benefit from those opportunities.
When you think about where we sit here in New Brunswick too, like there's a major population on the east coast of the United States, with Boston, New York, like all the way down that side. There's a lot of people. And one thing that I've learned about turkey hunters is a turkey is not a turkey. Maybe you've shot a turkey in every state and a lot of the provinces, but if you haven't shot a turkey in New Brunswick, well, you got to get there to shoot a turkey in New Brunswick, And for sure. And the opportunity, here, like you say, for people to come as time goes on, and we allow more tags and more hunting opportunities as the birds start to spread out across the province a little more. I mean, you're absolutely right. This is already a destination for outdoor sports. It has been for, generations and generations. Certainly for people from New England and deeper parts of the east coast of the U.S. But again, as the population starts to grow and spread out here, the opportunity is only going to get greater. And I mean, you've been here in this area. It is very unique. We always talk about that, and anybody that comes here says that it's a very unique province and different areas. So it's exciting to think that, we have this new opportunity, because that doesn't happen very often, for any states or
really
provinces,
doesn't.
Where you say, okay, we have this new animal. Now we're going to have a hunting season for it. Like, we've conserved it well enough. Like, it's pretty cool.
Matthew, I'm sure that you've probably heard, but the number of people that come to the NWTF National Convention, Terry Smith, I'm sure, had to share with you, like this year was over 80,000 turkey hunters came there to gather. And that's what I'm talking about. This excitement in your province and across Canada is going to continue to grow. And it's like a newfound opportunity for so many. And I can't tell you the number of people I met said, oh, I'd never turkey hunt. There's nothing to it. And they go the first time, they hear a turkey gobble, and he's answering the call, and he's coming in, and all of a sudden they are hooked. Hooked big time. And then they can't get enough of it. And the next thing, they're going to want to travel to other provinces. They're going to come to the States. And, it's just, you just can't hardly fill that desire to go hunt another one. And, the quality, the time of year, it's just so special. Not to mention they're really good to eat.
Well, yeah, that's the unique thing about turkeys. Again, here, I mean, we do have a bear season in the spring, but it's a great time to be outside and be in the woods. And you're absolutely right. For people that didn't grow up doing this, like, once they get out and do it once, and you hear that first gobble, and you can hear them getting closer and closer until you can hear them start to drum, like, I'm here to tell you, you're not long going, whoa, this is what I needed in my life. I need to do this more. I need to try. Where can I do this again?
Well, I hope your neighbors in Nova Scotia will allow it to happen there. When I was at the Federation, we actually had three chapters in Nova Scotia. They've got some tremendous habitat. They've got that maritime climate. I mean, everything there says turkeys would thrive like the best places in the world. And unfortunately, there was a lobby that defeated that opportunity to bring turkeys in. But I think somewhere down the road, it's going to happen. And we'll add another province, because I think public demand will grow. Just as it's growing right now in New Brunswick and across the other provinces, it's going to happen there eventually. And I think that there will be another boom, another opportunity for turkey hunting that people never envisioned that would be there someday.
I totally agree. I mean, they're growing so much, and they're here on my side of the province, and they're heading south. And in that zone that's closer to Nova Scotia, I mean, they're only getting thicker, right? They're going to head that way. And once they get over there, they're not going to be able to stop them. It's like here, you're not going to stop them,
You won't.
Once they get a taste of that climate, and because it is, I mean, it's much more mild in a lot of places, especially South Shore, Nova Scotia. Like, it's much more mild the winters, and the deer really thrive there, much more so than here. And in the Annapolis Valley, there's plenty of farm ground. I mean, they would absolutely thrive in Nova Scotia. So
they would.
I mean, you can put the halt on.
I've been there.
Yeah, you can put the halt on it, but I mean, you're not going to stop them. The way they're growing here, they're only going to expand, so we just give it a few years.
Yeah, I'll never forget back during my years at the Federation, we had offered British Columbia wild turkeys, some Miriam's turkeys, and they said, they just didn't want them. They said they were non-native.
Right.
So we just happened to put some along the Washington State and British Columbia border. I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
They've got turkeys up there just galore. And I was there not 2 weeks ago, and people excited about them. I know I've heard that the biologists still are not happy with that they were non-native, but hey, we didn't put them there. The turkeys went there because they liked it. And we just saw turkeys everywhere in that province, and a lot of people excited about that expansion of the population there. And I know it's going to happen in the rest of the provinces as well.
Oh yeah, well, and now the CWTF is, it's working really hard for advocacy. I know in this province especially, we've had one event, and we got our chapter up and rolling in this local area again, and had an event and had a really, really great response and great turnout, and we're planning for a banquet this time next year or early in the year next year, and there's a lot of interest there, and there's a lot of people that are excited about turkey hunting. So I'm really excited for the Federation as a whole, the CWTF and the NWTF, just for the opportunity here and hopefully some expansion into the other provinces very soon. So like I say, I know that things are rolling along well with the CWTF, and the chapters seem to be active post COVID. I know COVID seemed to knock the wind out of a lot of people's sails, but now
it's coming back.
Oh, it's coming back big time, yeah. So it's really good to see, and it's great to see that interest. So
you bet.
I think we'll see a lot of expansion and growth in the CWTF now in the future years here for sure.
Sure. You bet.
So I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about, we've been talking a lot about conservation and NWTF and the birds and things like that. With the hunting season coming up here, it's right around the corner in this province. A lot of people here are green. Some people may have traveled and gone and done it, but there's a lot of people that if they got drawn for their tag this year, this is going to be their first time. They're buying calls, they're trying to watch some videos, things like that. They're maybe watching a TV show or listening to a podcast. Is there a few tips, Rob, that you could throw out there that you would say these are like my foundational tips for going out there and filling your tag?
Well, first of all, you got to go where there's turkeys. People ask me, where do you kill those Boone and Crockett bucks? I said, well, it's not in South Carolina where I live. I've got to go to a state that's got big deer. Well, it's no different with turkeys. You've got to go to a place where you've got an abundance of turkeys. And, then get with, whether it's, the regional biologist in that area, which most times they're very open about where concentration of birds are, but use whatever source you can to find out, a good opportunity, a place that, has turkeys. It may be on private land, and then you need to make sure that you go get permission from those landowners, and then to do scouting. And, a lot of people want to scout, months ahead of time, and that's okay because you can possibly then get to know better the lay of the land. But turkeys move a lot. From winter range to spring range, we did a 10-year gobbler study in the Northeast, and we found that some of those gobblers moved anywhere from 5 to 25 miles from where they spent the winter to where they end up in the spring. So the best scouting is that happens like immediately before, as close to the opening of the season as possible. Because you may find turkeys in a place all winter, come spring, there may not be any of them there. And just those seasonal shifts where those hens are looking for ideal nesting and brood habitat that will take those gobblers to wherever they end up. Then the other thing is to take some extra time. If you're going to hunt with a shotgun, which is what I would recommend, understand point of aim and point of impact. Matthew, you're a waterfowl hunter.
Yes, sir.
You've taken that shotgun, you're wing shooting, and you point and you swing through the target. In turkey hunting, you're going to be shooting that shotgun like a rifle.
Right.
And so you've got to understand point of aim and point of impact. And what that's going to require is that you've got a sighting device. And I'm not talking about double beads on the barrel. I'm talking about putting either rifle sights, which could be, true glow type, or putting a red dot, which is a real favorite of mine and is great for many beginning hunters, but even experienced hunters.
Right.
Or putting on a low power turkey scope. That will help you be successful when you finally get into position to squeeze the trigger on that big gobbler. You want to shoot at the head and neck area. You want that bird to go down and be dead. You don't want to body shoot it. They've got so much armor from the thickness of wings to that breast meat to even get into the vital area. We're talking about a lethal shot in the head and neck. So know that shotgun, and that's probably the least understood part of being a successful turkey hunter. A lot of guys don't want to take the time to do that. Well, trust me, you're penalizing yourself if you don't go ahead and do that. The last thing I wanted to mention, you cannot buy at Bass Pro Shops. You can't go to Moncton and find it there. But what it is patience. Be patient on that bird. And you don't have to be a skilled caller. You can take a push pin caller. If you can learn how to cluck, most times that's all you're going to need. But be patient. Give that turkey time to work to you. And so many times, if he doesn't just gobble every breath, people get impatient. They get up, they move, and the next thing they bump the turkey. So with those few points, they will help you become a more consistent or make you very, very successful that very first time that you go out.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed about turkey hunting when I got my tag here. I had just an outstanding time. I've hunted them down in New England a few times in Ontario. To be able to go out here and do it myself, as a waterfowl hunter, your birds most of the time are always calling back. You're calling at them, they're calling back, you know what I mean? But with the turkey, you're calling at them and they gobble. And like you said, if they're not gobbling every breath, you're like, well, I better go after them. You don't think about, just be patient, just wait.
Yep.
He might be coming over here. And my friend in Connecticut that took me, I remember being out on that hunt with him, and the turkey was gobbling, and he's like, okay, I'm going to stop calling. And I thought to myself, what would you do that for? Like, he's calling, don't you call back to him? Anyway, so I'm just like, okay, we'll just sit here and, he knows what he's doing, that you're going to learn something here. So just now if we're looking at a clock, he was at 2:00, then he was at 12:00, then he was at 10, and there he was at the top of the hill, came right towards us. And, he knew exactly where we were. And because he stopped calling, he's like, geez, I better go over and see where she went. And he ended up coming in. We ended up getting him. So that was great. But for me, as a certainly a beginner, I would class myself. I wouldn't have done that at all. So, you learn as you go, for sure. And I think that there's most of the people in this province are in that same boat. Everybody's trying to learn, so it's just, the basics and the foundations of it, like you say, are important.
Yeah. And, how to dress. I mean, complete camouflage, head to toe, make sure you got a face mask, make sure your hands are gloved, and, nothing shiny. I mean, if you've got a gun that just has that shiny bluing and a shiny wood stock, you got to do something to alleviate that so that it blends into the background which you're hunting. And, it's just, you're fooling with eyesight and his ability to actually resolve a situation in a short amount of time. So you got to minimize your movement. He gets his head behind a tree or some other natural object, then you make your move, and don't try to outdraw that turkey. If he's got his eyes that you can see them, don't move. Wait till the opportunity comes. Or he may come into your decoys and strut, and when he turns his back to you, then you can make that final move to make the shot once his head gets stretched out tall and high. Don't shoot at him and strut. You're going to lose birds if you do. You want that target area to be that head and neck, and you'd like it stretched out long and tall.
Right, because I mean, I'm sure in your years of turkey hunting, you've probably missed a couple and seen a lot of misses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's going to happen.
And I think that it's humbling.
Really,
It's humbling for people because it's such a big bird. Like when they're in the fields here, you would think when they're strutting, you would think they were a bear, and people would think, "Oh, geez,
yeah,
you can't miss one of those." Well, you can miss them.
yep. He's like a Volkswagen Beetle with his doors open.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, is there anything as far as locating a turkey the night before? Like, do you have any certain call? Like, do you always like an owl, or do you always like a crow, or?
Well, the words always and never do not apply to turkey hunting.
Right.
Because just about the time you think you've got something that is foolproof, he's going to throw you a curveball. But I do like the owl hoot, and you can do it with your natural voice. There's a number of owl hooters out there in the market. But you'll find you have your best luck once that turkey is up in the tree, when he's up there to roost. But an owl hooter, I love a crow call. I use a crow call quite often. Another thing that works, I've listened out in Nebraska, we were around a lot of Canada geese, and when those geese were honking, turkeys would gobble to them. So that's another thing you can use.
Huh.
When I'm out west, I use a coyote call, believe it or not.
Yep.
It reaches long and far out across those plains, and that is my number one go-to in trying to locate a turkey, whether it's at night on the roost or whether it's up in the day. That high pitch is really, really important. And so just select one of those or mix all of them into your repertoire, into your turkey vest that you can pull from. Sometimes I found that even taking a trumpet yelper, a wingbone yelper, when they're up on the roost, when I can't get him to gobble anything else, a lot of times making that real high pitch when you're sucking on that trumpet yelper,
Yep.
that might make him gobble as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose because at times if you're in a place that, there's a lot of people that are calling at them or, it's hunter dense, maybe they don't want to gobble for you.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily gobble every night either.
Right.
So don't be defeated just because you can't get him to gobble on a particular evening.
Right. Yeah. It's really, you're forever going to be a student of the game, I feel, and just about anything you hunt. But turkeys, it's like I've said here, these turkeys that are here, some of them are definitely coming from Maine and have been shot at. But there's, at this point, lots of them that have hatched here, and now they're new birds that have, had little to no hunting pressure. And it's not going to be long before people in this area are definitely, if they haven't been already, humbled by some of these birds because they don't make a habit of getting shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anything else on that, Rob, that you wanted to mention as far as tips for hunting or things that people should remember when they're going out?
Well, have a good set of boots that are comfortable. Sometimes you got to cover a lot of ground. I know when I was in Alberta, we had one day we covered 9.8 miles till we finally found a turkey that wanted to work.
Wow.
And as I mentioned, complete camouflage. I'd have a sling for my shotgun to carry it over my shoulder. Decoys are something you may want to consider as well. I mean, I grew up hunting without decoys, but they can make the game easier, but it's not a guarantee. I've seen turkeys also take and once they see the decoys, turn and go the other way.
Right.
And, if I was going to select two, I would, have a Jake and a hen. I like a hen that's got a feeding posture, not with a head up. So consider that as well. Also, find a turkey seat. Bass Pro Shops has a great one. It's called the Hunting Lounger. I call it the Turkey Lounger. It's almost like a beach chair in camouflage. And many times you have to sit for an extended period of time, and you want to remain motionless. This is a comfortable seat that you can remain motionless in. and you'll have your knee propped up that you work your shotgun. You can rest it right on that knee to go make the shot. Also, if you're using decoys, always, if you're a right-handed shooter, point your left shoulder towards the decoys. If you're a left-handed shooter, just put the right shoulder there. A lot of people look straight on, and it's hard for them then to make the shot. But again, I'm a right-handed shooter. I point that left shoulder at the decoys all the time. And so setting up is good. I usually set my decoys at about 22 steps. That's my average shot. And step it off when you put them. Don't put them out too far, but don't get them too close. Allow your shot pattern to open up on that bird, because with some of today's tight chokes, I mean, it's coming out there like a rifle at the first 15 yards.
No question. Yeah, they're absolutely zinging tight, super, super tight. So speaking on that, is there choke and shell that you like? Probably 12 gauge, huh? Or do you use a sub gauge?
Well, believe it or not, I shoot a 410 regularly. I shoot a TriStar Viper. Got the extended pistol grip on it. It's totally camouflage and strata camo. And, I always tell people, take the gun you're most comfortable with. But I've got, all my grandkids have killed turkeys with me this spring again. They all shot them with 410s. But
nice.
What has changed the game is tungsten super shot,
Oh,
TSS.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Winchester makes a great low, but so does Federal, so does Remington. Apex is another favorite of mine. And, use number 8s or number 9s. There's even 10s. There's just a number of, but you got to go to the patterning board and see what patterns best out of that gun. Carlson choke tubes. I was hunting with Scott Carlson, the founder of Carlson choke tubes, last week. And one thing that he will tell you is that you've got to spend time at that patterning board and try to decide the distances that you want to shoot, because every one is going to be of a different choke constriction. And you got to find what's going to be, most meaningful to you as far as shot distances that you take. Another point that Scott made is that he gets to test every shotgun that's manufactured. And he said, Rob, 90% of the shotguns manufactured today do not shoot straight on. So if you think that just by looking down that barrel with double beads on that barrel that you're shooting straight on, don't fool yourself.
That's what I understand, yeah.
You need to have that sighting device to make sure you understand point of aim, point of impact. I cannot emphasize that point enough.
Yeah, that's a great point, because when you said that earlier, I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because a lot of people just think you're just throwing shot out there, but
nope.
I know that there's, in the past few years, people have been saying, I bought this new gun and it was shooting high and left or high and right. And the other thing about it too is when you do all that work and you put in all that time and effort, and that turkey comes in and you haven't shot your gun and it patterns totally different at 20 yards than it does 30, and you're not aware of, what your sweet spot is there or where it's going to shoot at what distance, man, I mean, you're leaving yourself out to dry there, really. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage when you don't shoot it. I mean, yeah, maybe the shot is, it's not cheap per shell, but you'll feel pretty bad if you miss.
Yeah. Do not skimp on buying the best shells you can. I know guys saying, man, I'm not going to pay for that TSS. I said, well, that's fine, but just understand what you're passing up to go to something lesser. I mean, that is one area that I do not want to skimp on. I want to have good ammunition coming out of that shotgun.
Right. And talking about the chair too, I have that exact chair that you're talking about, and they do make your experience out there way, way better when you're sitting down like that.
It's better than, just putting a pad down on the ground where there's rocks and roots and everything else. You can sit there for a little while, but after 10, 15 minutes, you're going to start shifting your weight around. And a lot of times that turkey doesn't gobble when he's coming in, and he may pick up your movement, and you didn't even realize he was there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you're busted, and you feel pretty bad because you're uncomfortable.
You're done. Yep.
That's a lot of great tips, and I'm sure a lot of things that people wouldn't think about. That was one thing I was going to ask you about was decoys, because I know that, it's 50-50. It seems like people, lots of times they're run and gun and they're going through the woods and they don't use decoys because they say if the turkey sees it, they'll hold up, or like you said, even run. So now sometimes they'll come in and jump all over them, but I suppose you're taking that chance, and it really depends on where you are as well, maybe.
Sure. A lot of different variables.
Yeah, no question. Well, Rob, I've kept you for over an hour here. I know you had a family event. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover here, or anything that you wanted to leave us with today?
I think what I said earlier about putting on the best white hat you can as a hunter will be extremely important in being able to pass along this great hunting heritage for those yet to come. We've got to do a better job in selling ourselves, selling the hunting community, the way we present ourselves in public, the way we present ourselves in the game we take on social media, because if we lose the privilege of hunting, we've lost something that is taking away from the quality of life of all people in Canada, all people in the U.S., and we've got to be committed to everything we can to pass along this great heritage for those people that are going to carry this ball forward, because we are in some challenging times today with growing anti-hunting sentiment and people that just don't understand. And I think if we do put on the right face, wear the white hat, show ourselves as responsible human beings, responsible citizens, that we can influence those that go to the voting booth to vote for our elected officials.
Yeah, well said. Educate and advocate.
Absolutely.
No question. Well, look, Rob, I really, really appreciate your time coming on here. You've obviously had a major career, well decorated. I know the boys, Terry and Mike, speak really highly of you, and just through my research, and I have watched some of your shows over the years, because I was like, geez, I really recognize that name. And now that we've connected and I've seen what you've done over the years, you've really are still continuing to leave a really, really good legacy for conservation, advocacy, and mentorship and things like that. So it's just really, really great to talk to you and hear about some of the things that you're doing, some of the things that you did in the past in your career. So I really appreciate your time and you taking the time.
Thank you so much. All my best to Terry and to Mike for what they're doing. And I urge everybody listening to join the Canadian Wild Turkey Federation.
Yeah, absolutely. We're growing.
And thanks for answering the call.
Right on. Thanks very much, Rob. I appreciate you.
You bet. Have a great season.
You
Thanks,
too.
Matthew.
You too, brother.